All right.
All right.
We're back.
Yes, we're back. We're back. We're back, guys. It's Nicola Smith Jackson for those who are just logging in, and we just had a phenomenal Facebook Live where we had no technology going on, but we're here in Zoom, and we wanted to make sure that everyone had the opportunity to hop on and see. And we've recorded this so that you can go back. And what did we talk about? We talked about, some of the biggest lessons that I learned in business that has helped me make millions. I was doing okay before, we did well, but I didn't understand what I was doing, didn't understand things like systems, how to maximize things like, leverage. Uh, and I want to introduce you guys to someone, and many of you guys know her because many people that are on are from all over the world. And, I've been in network marketing. I was in network marketing when I met DC. But some of the things that I've learned through the Money and You program, as well as Business School Accelerated, which you'll learn that's like Money and You to the 10th degree, I've been able to implement them and know exactly how to create wealth over and over and over. But not only that, businesses that are making humanity better, taking leadership to the next level, and also understanding myself so I can understand a lot more people and just make huge impact and empowerment. So I want to welcome DC Cordova. I can tell you she's an amazing, amazing soul and has helped me tremendously. So DC, welcome, welcome, welcome.
You. Thank you so much. And for everybody who is in the Money and You network, hi everyone, and around the world. Some of you will remember Nicola. She is a business school graduate. She flew all the way to Malaysia. She's a very courageous American soul, going all the way there. And she attended a business school. And then a couple of years later, she attended the Money and You program in Southern California. And one of the things that Nicola and I have in common is that we really, really want to encourage business people, and particularly women and women of all backgrounds. What we would like to do is to empower you with the best tools, the best systems, but also to have the ability to be able to add value to humanity. Because one of the things that sooner or later you're going to learn, and I remember being very young and thinking, well, let me figure this out for myself first, when people used to say, money is not going to make you happy, okay? And it was like, yes, it made me happy for a little while, and it is fantastic to have money. It definitely brings you freedom, and it allows you to do many things. But one of the things that is happening now in our environment, not only in the United States, but around the world, is that we also have to have, now we're very connected to ourselves. Everything is driving us there. So sometimes all the money in the world is not going to make you happy, because when you look around, you will see that people are suffering, that people don't have enough. They don't have insurance. They don't have good jobs. They're working at terrible jobs at minimum wage. They are suffering. They don't have health insurance. They don't have home insurance. So even if you have a lot of money, even if you're really successful, if you have to step over a homeless person, which is something that I saw in New York one time, a long time ago, what happens is that it gets very, very tough to really be happy. So our work is about being wealthy and about being happy. And that means that we're going to be of service to others. So Nicola, I really want to acknowledge you. I really want to thank you and your team, because I know that you're really stepping really out there in allowing us to come and do our programs in Atlanta. You're stretching, your team is stretching. You are really doing something that you feel is really going to be good for your community. And I really thank you for that, because that's what it's going to take for the work to grow in America. We're huge in the Asia-Pacific region, and we're so busy there all the time that the United States is being left on the side. And meanwhile, there's all these things happening in the US where we're getting behind. We're getting so behind at every level. The other day, I found out that United Airlines has a word, what do you call it? Oops, Beth, you want to turn off your mic. Thank you, Beth. And so one of the things that is happening right now, they were below, I think it was some airlines in somewhere in Africa or somewhere. So it's like what we want to do is we want to really empower entrepreneurs and business people, professionals and students with the best tools that not only allow them to become wealthy and have good lives, but also to affect the community in a good way.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And, you know, that is so powerful, DC. I wanted to talk as well about, because people got to get outside of like what's happening with them, right? I know when you're in self-preservation and things are like not so good with you, it's hard to think about what's going on in the world. You're like, hey, I have stuff going on in my house, you know. And one of the things that had impacted me in such a huge way is when I went over to Malaysia. I'm always very transparent because I think that that has been one of the things that has helped with transformation in so many other people's lives, that people see you have what they call success and they think that everything else was going great. But I remember going over to Malaysia and having the courage to go by myself. I traveled 30 hours by myself. And it was during a time where things were kind of crazy in my life. And it was so refreshing to me that I was like, wow, if I didn't have my kids back home, what have you, the love, the encouragement, the embrace of wealth and abundance that I experienced, I said, if I didn't have all that, I would still be in Malaysia. Whole different world of the network that I, you know, the whole business school accelerated family, the Money in You family, what I experienced. And I just felt like, I said, if I could just get people to experience this, I think that so many lives would be different. And then I realized that, you know what, I can be a vessel to bring that information to other people, because you might not be going through the best things in your life, but I came back with tools, with strategies of how to handle some of the toughest things that I've ever gone through, and coming out with a bright outlook on doing something big, with a responsibility to do something big to impact so many other people who are hurting, and whether it's in their business or their personal life. And I made a distinction, and I made the decision of even what industry I wanted to be a part of, the transformational industry. Yes. DC, talk about the work of Money in You. I mean, nearly 40 years you've been doing this. You don't look like you've been doing this 40 years. Look amazing. I don't know why he's doing you exceptionally well, right? Yeah, I'm talking about, you know, you look amazing. But the principles, nearly 40 years, these things have been helping entrepreneurs do big things, not little stuff, big things, because you challenge us. It's challenge for us to lead and do something big. But it's been 40 years and people are still, the principles still work. They are still working. And to me, even now than ever before, because people are having to depend on themselves. They can't in America depend on the government. They can't depend on, you know, other people. And people want to know, how can I be self-sufficient and help other people at the same time? Can we talk a little bit about the whole deal of making this world so much better for humanity as a whole?
Well, let me just start with the person. I think that your point, that it's really hard for us to concentrate on others when we are suffering, when we don't have enough cash flow and all that. So let me just very quickly remind you, many of you heard of the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki and Sharon Lechter. And so basically Robert Kiyosaki was my business partner for 9 years, and he hung around us for about 17 years. And that book is actually sharing the tools and the principles that we learned from Buckminster Fuller. Buckminster Fuller was considered the grandfather of the universe, and he was a genius, just the most incredible man. Anybody that wants to know more about him, they just go to moneyandyou.com and then put /Buckminster, and it will automatically take him into a library of things about him. He is one of the most beautiful geniuses. And one of the things that Buckminster Fuller shared with us, the way that our educational system functions, not only in the United States, but all over the world, was not preparing human beings to get you ready for handling the world the way that it is now. Because we technically, everyone on the planet is a billionaire, technically. And so what happens is that there is a greed factor. And I want to make it very clear to everyone that I'm a total capitalist, okay? I want to make this really clear to everyone. I appreciate having wealth. I appreciate having set up a system that's going to handle me for the rest of my life. And I am totally into systems and into business. And I've been called a fiscal Republican person, and then also a social democrat, okay? A fiscal conservative and a social democrat. Because I truly, truly believe that unless you provide good education to people and to our young people, to our children, and also take care of our elders, then we are a ruined society anyway. So that's another conversation. So sometimes people get a little confused around me when I go into the next part of my talk. So I want to make it really clear I am a capitalist. But I'm a conscious social capitalist that truly believe that you can set up businesses, organizations, or you can be part of an entrepreneurial team where you can work on businesses that not only create profits for you, but you can have that consciousness that also adds value to your community, even to your neighborhood, even if it's down the street from you, or helping the people that work for you, whether you have 2 employees, you have 50, or you have thousands. So what we need to do is we can no longer be separated. We have to have collaboration. But there's nothing in the traditional education anywhere in the world, unless you are very privileged and you live in a place like I do in San Diego, or I'm in a beautiful place like I am right now on Maui, that you have very specialized schools with very committed parents. But as a whole, as a society, basically we're starting off with some major handicaps. So one of the things that I really want to emphasize to everyone, that you need to power up with entrepreneurial education. You need to know how to do your own business or be part of a business. Unless you belong to a company. And if you go to accesstocash.com, that is a book that is only $9.95 on Amazon. It's a book that I wrote, which has these fantastic exercises, magical exercises, chapter 7. And so what I want you to do is I want you to know that you can go ahead and do clearing also of your consciousness, because there's something that occurs with human beings. The big difference, I've been in the back of rooms and have been teaching some, but I am a CEO, and you never heard of me because I chose for you not to hear of me. I am in the background. By the way, I'm what I call the power behind the power. So you heard of Tony Robbins, who we trained when he was 23. You heard of Jack Canfield and Margaret Hansen of Chicken Soup for the Soul, who did Money in You 1979. You heard of Robert Kiyosaki, who was definitely our trainer, our instructor, and probably the closest thing that I can say that I really encourage and really planted the idea for him to write books. His first book was called If You Want to Be Rich and Happy, Don't Go to School. It was a question mark. And then later, of course, Sharon Lecter came along and just opened up that whole other universe for him. But one of the things that you need to know, that there are principles in business, there are principles in life. They are generalized principles. They are always true. Leverage is one of them. Gravity is one of them. If you jump off a bridge, you are going to land on the ground or on the water. Let me tell you something. It will always happen. A generalized principle is that. Then there's another generalized principle, which is called precession, which we cover in the Money and You program. And precession is the physics, the metaphysics, and the physics explanation of ripple effects. So every time that you take an action, every time you do anything, every time you are moving forward, you are creating some kind of a precessional effect. Even if you're just sitting at home, you're creating a precessional effect, which will be very small. But because of Nicola, because of her network, because I know who you are, and also my network and the people that from both networks that are listening to this, I know that you want to take action. I know that you are the kind of people that will sit here and listen to a conversation like this because you're hungry for knowing what really works for people. So it's a combination of solid business tools, systems, and a combination of also doing clearing work and working on yourself and removing blocks so that you're not just a money hungry person that's going to end up unhappy anyway. So that is the essence of the Money and You program. And of course, also our business school for entrepreneurs and other accelerated programs.
You know, DC, the clearing work is so powerful. The clearing work, you know, even in your access to cash, you have some things that we could do. And if you, I encourage you, the themoneyandyou.com, go there and get the free gift. But I can remember going through my clearing work, and it was not pretty. I mean, you know, and it was so empowering for me. I can remember when I finally got clear on what I wanted to do. And it happened in that room in Malaysia. And I was surrounded around people who supported me in such a way that I've never experienced before. And still have not experienced since. The atmosphere that's created with Money and You and the whole curriculum, it just will transform you into a whole different being, to where now I had made that commitment to be that person to other people, but I'm like, they got to experience it. Yes. So that they can also be that same effect to the other people that they encounter in business. And that social responsible entrepreneur, being that, yes, it's okay. That's where I learned about you. It's okay to be immensely wealthy and set up systems for you and your family to be okay and still make a major contribution around you. And identifying where you want to make those contributions and where you feel that, you know, you were purposed to do so, and releasing the guilt and the fear of being wealthy and how people feel about wealthy people. I know for me, I have met the most loving, kind, generous, sincere, genuine people through the Money and You network. And I'd love people to talk about that, because I know people have those fears. You know, they meet me and they say, Nicola, you're so humble, you're so nice, you're different. And I'm like, this is a myth that people who do well are not nice or not giving, not generous. Can we talk about that, DC?
Yeah.
Because you were generous to me, so generous to me.
Thank you. And you're very generous to me and some of the wealthiest people that I know around the world. I am very blessed, and it's my destiny to be surrounded by people of outrageous wealth, and they are very loving, and some of them are not.
Please mute your line. Let's see how we can do that.
Tiffany, yes.
Tiffany, if you can mute, please. Oh, there. Okay, perfect. That's good. There we go.
Yeah. Thank you. So it's so interesting. Whenever we start talking about this, there's literally interference. I know it sounds crazy, but it really happens all the time. So one of the things that I have found is that money really, in many ways, does magnetize how a person is going to be. I know people that have started earning a lot of money and became really crazy. And then there is a lot of people that actually also became so much more generous. So you have to really begin to trust yourself and know that you're probably going to do really a lot of good things. You can only drive so many cars, you know. You can only wear only one watch unless you're going to be outrageous and wear four of them. And you can literally just, after a while, you just kind of like go into a place where you really want to contribute to others. And there is scientific proof. There's the Maslow scale of needs. Leslie Ann, can you turn yourself off? If everyone can put themselves on mute.
Yeah, put themselves on mute. Yeah.
Everyone go on mute, please. Thank you. And I know that there's a way for you, Nicola, to put people on mute.
How can I?
Leslie Ann, you put everybody on mute but you and I. Yeah.
Yeah.
So one of the things that you really need to understand is that the process that Nicola is talking about is the process of really having the ability to be able to really trust yourself that you're going to do good with that money. So one of the things that we're going to be doing in Money and You, we're coming to Atlanta. We're coming to Atlanta. We don't know if we're going to go back to Atlanta, not because that Nicola doesn't want us or anything. We're so extremely busy. We may be going back to San Diego, to other cities. But what I want to do is I really want to encourage as many of you to show up, no matter where you are in the country, no matter where you are in the world, because we are all a human experiment. We are all working on ourselves to see what can evolve. And right now, what is happening in our political, background, in our political spectrum, what is happening in the United States, it doesn't matter. You have to bypass all of this by being in business. This is what I mean by me being a social capitalist, because I truly believe that, and there are books, like for instance, there's a great book called The Climate of Hope. I want you all to pick up that book, The Climate of Hope. And this particular book came out a few weeks ago by Michael Bloomberg and other people. And even though they're talking about the climate and climate change, there's quite a bit of information there. It's also talking about how businesses and communities are going to be the ones that are going to change the world. Always have and always will. And so this is where you begin to have more control and be able to have the ability to be able to come with solutions to problems that you see on a daily basis. And the more that you set up systems in place in order for you to create solutions and solve those problems, the wealthier that you will be. So if you want to become a student of businesses, you want to become a student of people that have really made it, just take a look and see that they have made available a product or a service that has solved a big problem. So, and some of you right now may be having a lot of problems, and this is the big, let me give you some tools. The first thing you need to do is take 3 deep breaths, okay? So next time you have bad news about anything, you lost your job, you lost your sweetheart, or something more horrible occurred, or something has happened that is really going to ruin your day, ruin your week, ruin what looks like ruin your life, it's not going to ruin your life. It's basically just going to ruin a little time, okay? You take 3 deep breaths. The next thing you need to do is to make a list of all the different choices that you have in your life. This is really important, because can you have the 63777 number? Mute yourself. Thank you.
I actually muted all.
No, they're coming in. Just
okay.
You have to keep an eye on the ones that come in.
Okay.
So basically, what happens is that human beings feel really when they are up against the wall and they don't have choices. So you have to come up with choices. And so the first thing you have to do is take care of you. What most people have a tendency to do, and there are technologies, and and I have seen them, I have tested them. I've been doing this for nearly 40 years. So I know what I'm talking about. One of the things that happens is that the first thing you need to do is handle yourself, and then you handle your business and your situation.
Let's see here. There we go.
Shot it, I went blank, can't hear.
Somewhere and get support. This is really important. But if you're not clear-headed, if you don't take control of what's happening in your life, it's going to get really crazy. And this is why it's called Money and You. So in the Money and You program, we're going to take you through a series of games and exercises that will help you go through a thing called the business success model. The business success model is learning from masters, creating a niche, leveraging that niche through aligned team systems, rules of the game, policies, and then also creating synergy and ultimately creating results. That's what we do for 3.5 days. In regards to the business part, we'll also talk extensively about certain learning experiences that it seems like 99.9% of the business people that we know go through. So we talk about those. But the biggest thing that you're going to do is you're going to go through 3.5 days on a little journey of finding aspects of yourself that maybe you have been denying, or that you have actually not wanted to accept about you, or haven't forgiven yourself. And you're going to kind of embrace those aspects of yourself and move on. This is what Money and You does for people. They move on. They get on with their lives. And it can be a billionaire like the son of Paul Mitchell. Angus Mitchell came to do Money and You when he was very young. He was a billionaire, and he had so many challenges in his life. And one of the things that he realized in the program was that he needed to take responsibility for the gift of having been a billionaire, and yet his life, was crazy. And then if you Google him, you go to Instagram, you see Angus Mitchell has a beautiful wife, beautiful children, and has his life pretty together now. So one of the things, whether you have very little money or you are very successful, or you're not so successful and you wish you were, the biggest thing you need to do is get a hold of yourself. Take 3 deep breaths, take a look if you're in a lot of trouble, look at all the choices that you have, make up choices. If sometimes they're tough that you're going to take, but you need to have at least 5 choices of things that you can do, and every human being has them. Do not say, no, I don't have a choice. Yes, you do. Whether you want to do it or not, that's another question. But we do have choices, sometimes to stay, sometimes to leave, sometimes to sell, sometimes to buy, sometimes to go across the world. Sometimes it's nothing that we want to do, but that's what we have to do. So now what you want to do is you then take a look at whether you are leveraging yourself. There's 2 things you need to always look at. Whenever they used to bring me in with people that made no money or had terrible businesses, there were 2 things missing. Either they weren't spending enough time on income generating activities, or they were not leveraging themselves, their products, their services, their resources, their talents, the little money that they had or the lot of money that they had. And then ultimately working on yourself, and that is another, I could spend hours. So what I want you to do is I want you to really, Nicola has an incredible gift. This is and all of you that are in the Money and You network that want to come to the Atlanta Money and You, or you want your friends to come, if you send her an email to successwithnicola@gmail.com. Is that correct?
Yes.
Nicola?
Yes, that's correct.
Successwithnicola@gmail.com. She has a special offer for all of you to come to Money and You. And you can just email her and just let her know that you heard this or pass this along. But the biggest thing that you want to do is do not delay. This is the one key that I have learned from the wealthiest people, and this happens to me too. If an opportunity comes along, whether it's for me to learn, to clear myself, to solve a problem, or to give me the tools for me to be able to do better work and better organizational tools and skills and expand my network, especially worldwide, I will change whatever it is that I do in order for me to show up. The patterns of people that are not successful and that do not have the level of money that they want is that I don't have the time and I don't have the money. Those are the first things that come out of people's mouth. And I want you to start changing that pattern, whether it's about this program or anything else. What you actually need to look at is how you can create the time and how you can create the money. Let go of this addiction to getting in debt all the time. This is something that unless you are a debt millionaire, and there's a whole technology to that one of our mentors that's coming to our business school in November is going to talk about being a debt, D-E-B-T, millionaire. Debt is not something that you want to be addicted to. Okay, so what you need to do, if you don't have the kind of money, the kind of business, the kind of lifestyle that you want right now, you need to make a change. And you're not going to keep going, and you're not going to make the changes if you keep going with the patterns that you have not right now. And the hardest thing is for you to be able to see your own patterns and for you to get the feedback from your own family, because they're going to agree with you because they love you. And the ones that give you a really hard time are usually, unless they are really at the level of success that you wish to have, I would not listen to them. Please forgive me for saying that. But what happens is that poverty and the addiction to suffering and to poverty and having no money is rampant in the United States. And please forgive me for saying this, but get out of it. Get out of it. Only you can get out of it. And this is something that I'm telling you right now, all these emerging nations are coming up because they can't afford to go hungry. They can't afford it. They have been hungry for centuries, and they're being given an opportunity now, and they're being given tools. I mean, my business is huge in the Asia Pacific region because people learn these powerful tools. They go and they make all this money. Then their friend says, where did you learn this? They go, oh, I did Money and You. And then they come along, they bring their family, they bring teams of 10 people. They all get really aligned. Next thing I see them 2-3 years later, they're all rich. And I go, where did you learn all of that? They go, at Money and You. So if you take a look at what your life is like right now, you need to be really honest, and I want you to join us in 3 weeks because I am so happy to be coming to Atlanta. We haven't been there since the 80s, and I have to tell you, the Atlanta Money and Use were some of the best ever. I don't know what it is about that part of the world, but the word soul doesn't cover it. It's such a beautiful part, and I want to also just let you know that the solutions are there, but you may need to get out of the way. And you also may need to learn some new tools and remove some of the blocks that they're not your fault. I want you to get this. Everything, there's nothing wrong with you. Nothing. You're just a beautiful, perfect creation of the Great Spirit. But what happened was that you were given the wrong information, the wrong data, and so you are outputting the wrong results. That's all.
Wow. That is absolutely powerful. Absolutely powerful. And just listening and realizing that piece about there's nothing wrong with you. You're just given the wrong information. And here's your opportunity to get the right information so you can start outputting the results that you want. You know, I always say window shopping at success, looking in on other people's lives. That's why people are so infatuated with, you know, celebrities and all this thing, because they believe that it's so far away from them to experience those lives that they want, or whatever it is that you want. You may not want to be a celebrity. You just may want to, you know, live like one. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter. But the idea when you get to know what those tools are for, what money is for, and how it's that energy that when you're putting out value. And if you don't value yourself, it's hard for you to put out value. So I've learned so much at Money and You that just also reinforced some things that I already knew, but I wasn't seeing that around the people that I was hanging around on a regular basis. I wasn't seeing it. And I saw people making money, but they were not happy. And there was a lot of other friction and all kind of other things that they had. And it just didn't resonate with me. So I know that God led me to Money and You to say, yes, you're on the right track. And there are people who understand what wealth is about, what it really is about, and how helping other people is a big part of it. And how you bringing your value to the table, and the part about having choices. Have you ever heard people say, I'm just doing what I got to do? No such thing. Everyone's doing what they really want to do. So if you want something different, you got to do something different. Change those patterns. DC helped me realize patterns. Do you understand that patterns are things that you've been doing so long that you don't even know that you're doing them? You need somebody to tell you, hey, you're doing great, But you see that thing right there that you're doing, you see that pattern right there, it's going to stop you. And I know that's not what you want. I mean, DC and I had a conversation even just on yesterday, and she had to walk me through a process with myself. And I had to go back and say, yeah, that's me. And I know that I am being groomed to be a billionaire, right? You can't be a billionaire unless you're taught by billionaires. And at Money and You, and when you continue on to business school, et cetera, that's what you're going to be exposed to. And I can tell you right now that I don't want to be stopped. I want to do bigger and bigger and bigger things that will empower and impact people. If that's you, you want to start first with yourself. Everyone has to. Join us June 15th through the 18th. We're going to come back, right, DC? Now
Yes,
when you get the Zoom?
In a few days, I want to go through more details of the business success model. I also want to share some great stories, but I want to leave you with this because this is really interesting. You know the show, Keeping Up with the Kardashians, you know that show, right?
Yeah.
And then it was like one day I thought, I have to watch this show. What is it about it that people see so much, that they like so much? And of course, I knew the father from the O.J. Simpson, and I knew the attorney and all this. And what totally blew my mind, was that the reason this show is so popular is because people that have very little money watch these people that have so much money being so stupid and so out of their minds and ingrained and just totally focused on the most idiotic little aspects of life. And when you turn off the TV, you feel so good. And you go, if that's what it's going to make me, when I have a lot of money, I think I'll stay with my living situation the way that it is now. Now, I really get that this is why that show is so popular. But then there's another aspect of it. And then I said, okay, I got that. That's why it's so popular. And people love to see all that lavish and all that. And then I said, but what made this girl so good? What was it that made her rich? How did they get there? And do you know that this girl, Kim Kardashian, I adore her. And I tell you why I adore her. She is the most savvy businesswoman. And I have to tell you, she used the business success model. She started little by little. She learned from masters. She created a niche. She leveraged that niche through all her contacts and all her daddy and all her Hollywood, her Beverly Hills connections that they had, and her stepdaddy being, the big, athlete and all of that. She leveraged her products and services, and then she put systems in place. She created synergy, created outrageous wealth, and then thought, you know what? While I'm doing all of this, I might as well film it and show the world. And then it was so outrageous. But this woman is an amazing, savvy businesswoman. And then I started discovering all these other actresses, the 3 Jessicas, who have billion-dollar businesses. Jessica Alba, Jessica Simpson, and the other Jessica that I can't remember right now. All of them are savvy business women. And what I want you women, and please, men, please forgive me, I love you, but there is no equality yet anywhere in the world for women, so we got to work a little harder. I want you women to learn from women. This is Nicola and I. We are mano a mano on this one. We really want women to excel even more because your brilliance, how your brain thinks, your nurturing side, that part of you that we use on a daily basis to empower our partners, our husbands, our girlfriends, whatever you have, your children, whatever it is that you have or no children, your associates, we want you to use those gifts to empower yourself and go through a whole other level and let's uplift all of humanity's consciousness through socially responsible businesses. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I just want to say thank you guys. We'll be back in a few days when we let you know the next Zoom. You want to hop on. We won't be Facebook Live. We're going to come back to Zoom with you. And go on and drop some comments under the Facebook Live and go back to successwithnicola@gmail.com. And in the subject line, say Money in You Scholarship. We have a scholarship for those who attended here. You want to make sure everyone come in and just get this. Businesses is what's going to change the world. Sorry, DC, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say they can also come to DC Cordova and say hi to me.
Yes.
I love you guys. I love Nicola's peeps. And my peeps are gorgeous. You're going to love them. They're all over the world. They're going to watch this all over the world. Malaysia, Singapore, Australia, India, Africa, South America, and Canada. My peeps are all over the world. And we are attempting to work on our American brothers and sisters. Thank you.
Thank you.
Aloha.
Aloha. Bye-bye.